been so hated by the magazine editor that wanted to turn you into a star that in their cover feature, they actually screw you over in such dramatic fashion that you may end up being stripped of your royal title. That is just what's happened overnight with this extraordinary cover feature on Harper's Bazaar with Meghan Markle as they claim that she's meeting her moment. But indeed, the reality of this feature is that Ms. Markle, even when she's acting as a private citizen in New York City, hawking her wares in order to fund her over-the-top lifestyle, even in a private apartment, she is introduced by the staff as the Duchess of Sussex. Yes, that's right. This is actually a completely mortifying feature. We're going to go through it all today. And of course, it is timed just as her public display of affection with Prince Harry in a cringeworthy Netflix trailer, which, let's be honest, is going to mark the final chapter of With Love, Meghan. It is timed to overshadow, once again, the real royals, because Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, showed what it was all about as they put duty first at the Royal Variety performance in London last night. And of course, we will get to that as well. But this is all part of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's ongoing war with the British royal family. And to pretend that isn't happening anymore is the height of naivety. And I could not be happier to be doing it today with Tom Sykes. He is the European editor-at-large at the Daily Beast, but more importantly, in the context of this show, you will know I talk about him often as the man behind the brilliant Royalist Substack, which is breaking scoop after scoop after scoop on the British royal family, and most importantly, to me, is no longer working in lockstep with the corruption of the royal rota. So, Tom, I mean, I said to you earlier, the royal story gods were looking down on us today, but we've got to kick off with this Harper's Bazaar feature. Because, Tom, a lot of people are saying, yeah, on the surface, the magazine might be trying to make Meghan look good, but as soon as you peel behind what's going on in this feature, indeed, she's made to look like a complete and utter moron, still using her royal title in the most extraordinary manner.
Yeah, hi, Dan. Thanks so much for having me today. It came out late last night, UK time, and the moment I read it, this line jumped out at me. So shall I just read it so people know exactly what we're talking about?
Please.
Okay. So the writer is called Caitlin Greenidge, and she does one interview with her first at a fancy hotel in Beverly Hills, where actually, when I read it again this morning, I noted she mentions that the PR is present, which is, as you know, as a journalist, an incredibly annoying and patronizing thing as a journalist to have the PR present. Then she says, this is the journalist writing, this is Greenidge writing, "We're in a grand brownstone on the Upper East Side that belongs to one of Meghan's friends, who I believe is Misha No, but when I enter, the house manager announces, Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, even though we appear to be the only two people in the house." I mean, Dan, how I covered this last night, I said that, you know, I love a trumpeter to announce my presence when I go into the kitchen as much as any other guy. I'm sure you have a page who, you know, wherever you go, announces that Sir Dan Wootton is on his way. But it is an extraordinary anecdote. And as you say, tucked into what on the surface appears to be a very warm and sympathetic and frankly sycophantic article, in the way that, you know, often these American magazine articles are, because it's really all about getting the photos. I just think it's, I mean, yeah, it's an extraordinary bit of unfiltered snark, I think, from the journalists, is the official American term for this.
Because, Tom, you had a very interesting take on this in the Royalist, because, of course, your connections to, you know, British aristocratic circles run deep. And you say, indeed, anyone who actually knows how titles work realise that the moment you're on American soil, they're completely meaningless.
In a move that stunned even her supporters, Meghan Markle has triggered another wave of backlash with her latest Harper's Bazaar appearance, and the revelations about her private behavior in New York are raising eyebrows across the royal world. What does this mean for the Sussex brand? And is Prince Harry's awkward PDA moment a sign of deeper trouble? Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal updates and analysis.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? It's an American citizen on American soil. It's embarrassing. It's just really uncool, I think, to be using your title. You just look like a sort of try hard. You just look ridiculous, you know? It's like Winston Churchill is a good example of this. He, on his American tour in 1929, wrote back to Clemmy saying, "Titles count for nothing with Americans." He observed that Americans care little for the trappings of aristocracy and introduced himself everywhere as Miss Churchill. I'm glad to say that's the end of my impressions.
No,
for
I'm
today.
loving it, Tom. A man of many talents.
And I think what's always fun to look at in these contexts is how these things are sometimes approached fictionally, where people can have a bit more latitude. And of course, P.G. Wodehouse, one of the great chroniclers of the sort of transatlantic snobism, if you were, if you will, your guide to interwar transatlantic, pre-war interatlantic snobbery, P.G. Wodehouse. He has this wonderful character who I'm sure everybody watching this will know, Lord Emsworth, who sort of pooters around his estate up in the north of England somewhere, looking after his pigs, and is always being mistaken for the gardener by visitors to the house, you know, because he wears a battered old jacket. And of course, at home, he's called Lord Emsworth, and everyone refers to him as Lord Emsworth. When he goes to America, he becomes Mr. Threepwood, is his alias. And you know, Bertie Wooster always joking about how Americans, you know, it's no use waving a title at an American because they don't understand. And actually, Dan, to be totally honest, people that I know with titles do not use them in the United Kingdom either, because it's kind of like, I mean, maybe the first time you meet somebody, they might say, you know, this is my father, Lord so-and-so, or what have you. But very swiftly, the person will say, "Oh, for goodness sake, just call me." Do you know what I mean? Because it is old-fashioned, and people, of course, do respect the tradition and all of that. And lots of people do like for it to be acknowledged once, perhaps, you know. But the idea that, and also, I mean, it's just so bonkers, isn't it? Because it's like you announce people's names in kind of costume dramas, like about what the world used to be like when they're arriving at a ball, not when someone else is arriving at your home. Sort of, it's so
100%.
crazy.
By the way, a very modern house, you know, if it is Mita Nunu's house, with a house manager. The whole thing is completely nuts. But there's a very serious side to this, Tom. And it plays into something that you have been reporting for a long time. And you wrote on this last night. I also think this behaviour makes clear why William, as the royalist was the first to report, is now so determined to strip the titles from Meghan and Harry in the fullness of time. If I am right, it is a spectacularly bad strategic move for Meghan to keep deploying these titles in blatantly commercial settings like this Harper's Bazaar feature. When the titles are removed, and they will be, especially if this kind of exploitation of them continues, it will be an even bigger story because Meghan has made such an enormous point of using them. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, absolutely, I have backed up your reporting on this. The titles are going to go. William simply hopes his father is going to have reason to do it before his death. That is looking increasingly unlikely. But I mean, I think we can all concede that there will be a time when Meghan will be Meghan Mountbatten Windsor or Meghan Markle, whichever she chooses, like it or not. So that's why this is so grim. Remember, we also saw it last year when she was sending a private gift and she was even using her HRH title, which is something that she had promised the late Queen Elizabeth II.
What really annoyed me about that, Dan, was they sort of made out that they just promised to the Queen not to use it for commercial purposes only. But that statement from the Queen, which was issued after the Sandringham Summit, which, you know, you're
In a move that stunned even her supporters, Meghan Markle has triggered another wave of backlash with her latest Harper's Bazaar appearance, and the revelations about her private behavior in New York are raising eyebrows across the royal world. What does this mean for the Sussex brand? And is Prince Harry's awkward PDA moment a sign of deeper trouble? Let me know what you think down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal updates and analysis.